Hey guys. Okay, first and foremost, there's going to be background noise. My daughter's in her room cleaning, or supposed to be cleaning, and she better be. I've had a very long day already. It's not been the greatest day here, but that's neither here nor there. So we're just going to get into today's video, which is just a quick update about the flowered headbands, which I finished, kind of. I just had to do a little finessing. 2 points. First, the flowered headbands, you should probably try and expand them as you do them, only because, as you can see, like here and here, there could have been another flower at least in there, so I may take this one off, move it, and then put another one on. But it looks pretty. Put it on for just a sec. My hair is going to go all sorts of crazy. See? That's it on. It's pretty. As you can see, there are just, some spaces. Like here's one, and then I think one here. I mean, this is a butterfly. I'm going to take him off and put him on the outside so that you can actually see him, so that he doesn't look like a dead leaf. But that's the one that I made for me. And then, of course, I made my daughter hers, and hers has crystals in the middle of 3 different colors: purple, blue, and white. And I stitched the back of these flowers. I just did a quick up one side, around the center, down, tied it off. Nothing complicated, nothing super hard to do, not like a button where you go over like 50 million times and then it's finally on there. No, I just did a really quick stitch. And I really don't like this angle because it makes me look like a double chin, and I don't. Whatever, let's keep going. Okay, so that's that. So I will say, watch your spacing, pull them out maybe, and add flowers where you need. Like this one is like really loose, so I'm gonna have to glue him and sew him back on. And then just secure your flowers, because if you use just hot glue, they're gonna pop off, and that's not what you want. That does not look pretty. So that's that. I did have to send my daughter out for a second bunch just because I ran out and I needed more. So I have to send her out to get me more. I need a drink. It's been that kind of day. Anyway, so today I thought, since I haven't talked about it in a little while, and I told you guys in the last video of paranormal stuff that I've had experiences from one side of the spectrum to the other, so I thought I would just cover a couple more. So I guess the first thing would be I don't really know. There's so many things. I think, gosh. Okay, I will briefly touch, because I don't remember 90% of them, to be honest with you, which is really bad for me, because normally I have a really, really good memory. I've had, I don't know if you want to call them premonitions, prophetic dreams, precognition, or whatever the other one is, I don't know. I have had dreams about things months to a year in advance before they're actually happening. And the one that I can tell you for 100% is long before, well, a while before I met my husband. I was staying with my mother and her husband, who would be my stepdad. I was staying with them, and I remember distinctly a white glass top stove, a really nice one. It was in the mid-90s, like 90, 95, 96, so they had just come out, and they were expensive. They're not as affordable as they are now, and my dad has, bless his heart, a really, we're talking early 70s stove. My mom had a gas stove, so it wasn't hers, but it was a white, really fancy glass top stove, and the glass top was black, and it was in this really nice kitchen with a nice granite counter and stone floor. It was a dark stone floor, almost like slate, but it wasn't. It was much thicker than that. But the time on the clock said 10:41 p.m. And it was a very sad, somber moment. I don't remember anything else. I don't remember people. I don't remember like specific conversations or talking or voices or anything. But I remember just the wall, the stove, the cabinet around it, and the countertop. And distinctly the time on the clock. 6 to 7 months later, my stepdad's mom fell and she broke her hip. Took her to the hospital. She was there for 24 hours. Fell into a coma. They did not expect her to have anything great happen. They just, they thought that she just needed a little extra time to heal, which sometimes happens in older people. She wasn't elderly. I think she was like, gosh, at the time, maybe late 50s, maybe early 60s. I mean, she wasn't that old. And then I remember at the time calling my boyfriend at the time, having him come pick me up because I didn't feel like being alone. So he did, and I remember getting a call at his house, talking to my mom on the phone. I turned, looked at the white stove, black glass top, 1041, and she told me that my stepdad's mom passed away. And I don't know how to explain it. I don't. I had a lot of those in my teens. I had a lot. People, places, events, feelings. That's the one that sticks out the most for me because I had a very chaotic teen from like 13 to 18 was very chaotic, very hectic, very upheavally, and it was a train wreck. It was just a nightmare. So those were when I had those dreams the most. I've had maybe one or two since I've turned 20. I'm 35 now, so in a span of 15 years I've had maybe two, but nothing as concrete in my head as that particular one. The other thing that I have a lot of is, and I don't know, I just don't know. I know things before they're going to happen. For instance, my family never fought. Never fought. My mom and dad never had an argument. They never had a disagreement. They never had a discussion. They never had anything. Nothing. Ever. I saw her, as you know, she has a new husband who would be my stepdad. So obviously something happened. I knew something shady was going on because this guy was at my school a lot and was hanging out with my mom a lot. But I didn't, 13, 14, you don't really put this with this and make it this and say, oh, that's what's going on. I remember, oh gosh, my parents calling, my dad was home, which never happened. My dad is a workaholic. Like, he would barely take sick days. He might take like half a day if he was sick, but he had to be like sick. Not just like, no, he had to be like sick. So he was home. That was the first clue something wasn't right. And then my mom was home. And they called all of us into the living room. And they were sitting on the couch. My brothers were kind of on either side, and my other brother was over here because I have three, so there's a whole mass of us. And I remember leaning up against the stove. And I remember them saying, we need to talk to you guys about something. And I looked them dead in the face. I had my arms crossed over my chest like this, like, ugh. I was wearing a white long sleeve shirt, and I remember getting this distinct, angry feeling. And I looked at them and I said, and there's no possible way I could ever know this, I said, you guys are getting a divorce, aren't you? Of all the things to come out of my mouth, that's what came out. And they both looked at each other, and I remember the distinct accusatory look on both of their faces, like, you told, no, you told. No, you must have told, no, you told. And they just looked at each other like, once they figured out that neither one of them told each, like, my mom figured out my dad didn't say anything, my dad figured out my mom didn't say anything, they just had this total look of, what? On their face. Like, they were just dumbfounded. They just, speechless. And then, like I said, my parents never fought. Never. Like, nothing. Like, crickets. Like, there was nothing. There was never any inclination other than this guy who was hanging out a lot, but it wasn't, like, in an intimate way, ever. There's no way for me to have known that. They didn't discuss things with us kids around. They didn't talk about things with us kids around. Like, there were 4 of us, so they probably never spoke about things unless they went off on their own, which they did a lot. There's just no way I could have known, but I did, because I immediately stormed out of the house. They confirmed what I said right then and there. They said, yeah, that's what we're going to talk to you about, but I left. Like, whatever, see, bye. So that was the first one. The second one was when I met my husband. We weren't married. We were living together. We were dating. And I remember distinctly, he left one morning because he worked at a ski resort with, I can't say it because I want to be polite, a jerk. Just call him that. He was a jerk. He would ride to work with him, and it was actually my car that I just took a loan out on. Keep that in mind. So they left before, like, the crack of dawn. They were gone at, like, 3 or 4 in the morning because they had to be there when everything opened up, because they ran some of the ski lifts and groomed, the slopes or whatever it is that they do. I don't even know. But at 10 o'clock that morning, I had the most gut-wrenching pain in my stomach. I had, like, panic. Like, I was panicking. I was sick. I was pained. Like, I knew something was very, very wrong. Wrong. I didn't know what. I had no idea. I had no way of contacting him. We didn't have cell phones. I had no idea what the work number was. There was no way to contact him to figure out if anything had happened. He came home in the jerk's car 3 or 4 hours later. He walks in the door, and I could just see his face. And I'm just like, what happened? What happened? I know something happened. What happened? And he just looks at me. He goes, what do you mean something happened? I said, something happened to you. You were in a car accident. What happened? He's like, how do you know I was in a car accident? I said, I know. So don't bother denying it. He's like, I didn't want to tell you. I'm like, why didn't you tell me? First off, he was hospitalized. Didn't tell me. Didn't call me from the hospital. Here's the reason why. He thought I would be mad that he wrecked the car. No, you big jerk. I was mad that you didn't call me because you're more important than a stupid car. You can replace pieces of metal. You can't replace people. And at that time, yeah, I pretty much figured out that he was the one. So I was mad that he didn't call me from the hospital and tell me, oops, I've been injured. Can you come visit me? That was number 2. The third time I felt that god-awful gut-wrenching pain, the panic, the sickness, the pain in my stomach. This is going to be a long video, just bear with me. I called my mom, and I asked her if everybody was okay. She called around, checked around. My brothers were fine. I called my dad. My dad was fine. I checked on my husband because he's usually the one who gives me those kinds of feelings. He was fine. My daughter was at school. She was fine. My mom calls me back the next morning because the pain didn't go away. Like, it was there all night. She calls me back and she said, what time did you have this feeling? I told her it was around 11 o'clock that morning, and she said, your uncle drove himself to the emergency room with appendicitis. Okay. Again, no way of knowing this. Is it coincidence? It's possible, however, highly unlikely. The fourth, and we're up to 4 now, time that I can remember distinctly, my daughter had just been in surgery for a corrective bladder surgery because her stuff it wasn't working right, and she kept getting severe kidney infections to the point of hospitalization. So they suggested to us to get corrective surgery. We got corrective surgery. She was out of recovery. She was in her room. She had a really nice room. We were all kind of just, hanging out. The crisis is over. She can have visitors. And my mom and stepdad lived quite a ways from us. They lived about an hour away from us. And they were house hunting, so that much I knew. I had specifically told them, not my town. You can go anywhere else outside my town. So we knew they were house hunting, but they showed up at the hospital, and I hadn't talked to them for I talked to them on the phone, but not really in depth or anything for 2 weeks, because I was just focusing on my daughter, on my kid, who was just struggling with this medical issue. So I hadn't really talked to them in depth about anything, and they told her in the hospital, and my stepdad was like, oh, we have a surprise for you. Do you want to know what it is? And I stood right there and I said, you guys bought a house in Richmond. They looked at each other in complete and utter shock. There was just, that was the look on their face. He was just like, yeah. I was like, told you. I know things. You guys don't believe me. There's your proof. And he's like, we even made sure we got a storage unit and snuck our stuff in when you guys were gone on vacation so you wouldn't know. I had no idea. No, we didn't talk about it. I had no way of knowing. There's just no possible way. Yet I did. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what it is. I don't know. It keeps happening at such random points in my life. It could be serious upheaval. It could be time of rest. It could be the most no, that's not the right word. The most peaceful, let's just go with that. The most peaceful time in my life, and then it happens. You top that with the dreams that I have. You top that with the actual paranormal experience that I've had, with the apparition. The more that I'm going to disclose to you, the more you'll figure it out. I don't know what it is. If I have a gift, fine. How do I fix it? How do I use it controllably? How do I get control over it? Can I get control over it? I don't have any answers. I've looked for years. I've tried things. I'll talk about that another time. It's a whole other story, a whole other episode. I wish I could just talk to somebody and be like, look, here's the 411. Here's what I've seen. Here's what I've dealt with. Here's what I've experienced. Here's what I've got. Can you help me? If it was just a plain fluke in the cosmos, fine. If it's not, and I actually have something, I would like to figure it out. So I could either A, shut it off, or B, use it when I would like to, and let things, I don't know. I don't know. Don't know. Those are just some of the things that I've experienced in my life. The most recent one, like I said, was probably 2 years ago. My daughter had her surgery, but I've had a lot more than that, and we'll get into those in the next episode. So tomorrow, like I said, I'm hoping to do maybe get ready with me, because we're supposed to go to a party. So I might do that. I do want to do another costume one, and it would be my husband's costume of a scarecrow, but not like your Wizard of Oz scarecrow, a creepy scarecrow. I do have family coming, so that may complicate things a little bit. It may be really weird videos, I'm not sure. So stay tuned. If you haven't subscribed, hit that button down below. Be part of my family. Like my video, leave me comments. If you want me to talk about things, if you have questions, leave me them. I love to interact with people. If you have subscribed, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys so much, and I see you hopefully tomorrow.